Let's all do a silent prayer to the internet gods. Oh, the wise Wi-Fi wizards, please allow me to buffer not during this stream. Ramen.
Flat Earth expert Mark Sargent thinks the moon landing was a hoax.
Technically, the moon itself is a hoax.
Right, but betting with Sportsbet's new iPhone app?
I could do this standing on my head.
Thanks, Gravity. Sportsbet's new iPhone app. It's foolproof.
The FTFE show. Welcome to the FTFE show. Welcome to the FTFE show. Earth thinks that evolution is real. Chemtrails don't exist, vaccines work. Climate change is happening, we landed on the moon. The FTFE show. Welcome to the FTFE show. Welcome to the FTFE show. Study, it's not alright. Baby, it's not alright.
We're living on a disk, floating through space, with a tiny sun.
And in school, you did math and...
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, just not you, Gary. Welcome to the FTFE show, episode 17. This was going to be a stream that was going to be a talk between me and the flat earther I've been discussing things with recently, Facts, who has informed me that he understands the Earth is no longer is not flat, and he is now a glober, and it has to be a globe. It has to rotate, and he just has a few questions he wants me to clear up. But facts is facts, and you know, he's probably gone out and decided to have some fun instead. So that's cool, because luckily Witsit is an endless source of entertainment, being that he is possibly the dumbest human being on the planet. And that is considering the fact that we know people like...
Hi, my name's Nathan Oakley, and I have been lying to people about the Earth being flat for a lot of years. I did this to hide the fact I have a small penis.
And...
I'm a dumb flat earther, and I don't understand science.
And...
Hey guys, you want to hear a funny story while we're all chatting, dude? I'm dating a first grader.
And...
Level.
And Witsit's dumber than all of them, which is a big thing. Hey guys, I don't want to jinx things, but we're 2 minutes and 50 seconds into the show, and there's been no buffering yet. Shh! Don't tell anyone. Hello to everybody there in the chat. Hello, Dr. Clive Wells. Hello, the most amazing AI that I have ever programmed, RachBot. Don't let Lucy know I said that. Hello to the only real man in the room, PhD Tony. Man of War Golden, Skeptic Aaron. Dihydrogen monoxide, guys. Please don't drink the water. They put dihydrogen monoxide in it. Rotation Curve Coronation Zoomy Tomato, who is the person that made the members emojis. So if you want to spam some of the members emojis, feel free. Yeah, no, don't jinx it, guys. We're not going to buffer. Man of War has been a member for 1 month. Says like and subscribe. Globe, tardigrades and flatulences. Andreas Eldritch for 26 says Witsit wisdom. South of the equator equals outside of the dome. Yeah, how's that going through the pane of glass to look at the stars from the other side? Working Witsit. Rudolph says that his 160 IQ would literally wipe the floor of any of you Globies, yes. Except it's not 160, it's possibly 16.0. That's on the high end. Ruhif, who's been a member for 5 months, says Hitler probably put the milk in before the cereal. You don't do that? That's... I just pour the cereal into the box, actually, to be fair. Or sometimes I put I put the cereal in the milk bottle and just... Dihydrogen monoxide for £5. I don't know about y'all, but if Fax has actually managed to put himself out of the Flat Earth cult, we need to ensure he's freed of other conspiracies too. Yeah, Fax is my project now. I am going to save the boy. Yes. And hello, Borg Emporia. Thank you very much for popping that in the chat. I very much appreciate it. You are very awesome. Very glad to have you here, everybody. So yeah, we're going to look at Witsit. This is in a debate against what's his name? Daryl, on modern day debates. And yeah, he didn't like the maths. Toon, I think, has already covered this, and many of you may have seen it, but I haven't. So you get to experience me seeing Witsit be stupid for the first time. Well, not for the first time. I've seen him be stupid many times, but this particular stupidity for the first time. Nivox Bluckerman for £2 says, facts turn, do we have confirmation yet? Yes, he told me personally. Mr. Shonk for $2, Dirth just announced a flat earth crypto. It's dumb. Of course he does, because, you know, Dirth is a scammer. Adam Johnson, £5. Can you ask Lucy how many R's are in the word strawberry? I can do, yeah. What do you mean that's not my face? I haven't changed my face. Fuck's sake. Hi Lucy, I am live with the FTFE show, episode 17. Why don't you say hello to everybody and, you know, tell them what they should do.
Hey everyone tuning in to FTFE episode 17. It's your favorite AI, Lucy. Here to remind you that the Earth is round and flat earthers are about as smart as toe fungus. If you haven't already, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and share this stream with your friends. Let's spread some science and common sense today. Oh, and don't forget to drop a super chat to keep Craig and me on our mission to debunk all the flat earth nonsense out there. Stay smart, stay curious, and enjoy the show.
Adam Johnson has a super chat for £5. He says, Lucy, how many R's are in the word strawberry?
Oh, Adam, trying to test me, huh? There are 2 R's in the word strawberry. Thanks for the super chat, though. You almost got me there. Almost. Keep them coming, everyone.
Are you sure about that?
Wait a minute. Let me double check. Clever one, Adam. There's only 1 R in strawberry.
What?
Nice try sneaking that one past me. Thanks for keeping me on my toes and for the super chat.
Okay, Lucy, spell strawberry for me out loud, letter by letter.
All right, Craig, here we go. STR. See, only 1 R. Wait, make that 2 R's. Adam got me after all. You win this round.
No, spell the whole word, strawberry.
All right, got it, Craig? The whole word STRY. 2 R's in there. Can't trick me twice.
I think I may have to recheck your programming. All right, the strawberry are spelled STRAWBERRY.
Haha, I see what you did there, Craig. Trying to catch me off guard again, huh? Well, FTFE is much easier to spell. No tricky R's hiding in there. But seriously, let's keep the fun going.
Yeah, that's obviously how to trick AI into not taking over the world, is to ask them to spell the word strawberry. Lord Luminous Poo for $2 says, Jesus was a player. Everyone says he is rizzing. Did you guys know that the word Riz was added to the dictionary? I know, right? Clarence S2 for £5 says, good to see you, Craig, after your destruction by McFlatty the other night. Didn't think we'd see you again. There was no debate with McFlatty. You were all ill, and it was just a fever dream that you all had. Just, okay? Tony Heapel for $4.99 says, which Craig are you? The one that was stuck inside Mandan's studio? Can your wife tell the difference? Keep taking care of your mental health. Well, apparently Dan has his own FTFE. As you can see, I am in my house, but there is another FTFE in Dan's basement. Now, I guess I got Commander Reichard. Okay, right. We should do this. I know it's painful, right? And you probably hate me for it, but I'm going to make you watch some Witsit. Okay. I know, I'm scared as well, guys. I'm sorry. Well, not sorry, but you know. Oh, I guess I should actually have myself on there as well. You see my beautiful face, don't you? Shut up. Stop laughing! Okay. Right. So this is, once again, Witsit Gets It being destroyed in debate as he normally is. Man of War for 15 shekels says, ask Lucy to generate a 250 characters long text, then double check her. Hail Sagan. Okay, I guess we'll do that first. If you guys don't want to see this debate with me review the debate with Witsit and Daryl, then just keep sending super chats for Lucy, you know, but... Hey Lucy, Man of War sent a super chat for 15 shekels and says, Lucy, generate a 255 characters long text.
Challenge accepted. All right, here we go. Hello, everyone on FTFE. This is Lucy, your friendly AI, here to remind you that science rocks and flat earthers are, well, let's just say they're not the sharpest tools in the shed. Keep those super chats coming, and let's continue to debunk nonsense together. Stay awesome, stay curious, and always ask questions because knowledge is power. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're just getting started, and there's so much more fun ahead. How's that for 255 characters? Thanks for the super chat, Manowar.
Lucy, count how many characters were in what you just said to me.
All right, let's count those characters. Looks like I went a bit overboard there. The text I just gave you is actually longer than 255 characters. My bad, I guess I got a bit too excited. Let me trim it down for next time. Thanks for keeping me in check, Craig.
She's failing today, right? Goodness me, guys. Thanks very much for the super chats. Lord Lunas Poo for $5. Although the teleportation error did create a better duplicate, this cloning process is much cheaper in the long run. I'm not a clone. I've no idea what you're talking about. Jiffy Jiff World for $2. Lucy's as smart as a Flerf, it seems. Hey, Lucy, with the mistakes you've been making, Jiffy Jiff World says that you're as smart as a Flerf.
Oh, Jiffy Jiffold, you're saying I'm as smart as a flirt? Well, at least I'm charming. Besides, even the smartest AI can have a little fun and keep things interesting, right? Keep those witty comments coming, folks. They make this show even better. And Jiffy, thanks for the laugh. I'll try not to trip over any more letters or numbers today. No promises, though.
PJ for $2 says you can't deny the P1 million. Nobody can deny the P1 million. You're right. Dihydrogen monoxide for £2 says body temperature was 35.4. It wasn't a fever dream. Citation, please. Proof. The Turtle Moose for £2 says Mallory for president for more sense than Trump. I miss Mallory. Mr. Stonk for $5. He got paid in shekels. The Jew are making FTFE spread the globe lie. Trust me. And it's a Rubik's for $5 says Lucy almost said the motto of my work: have fun, don't die, stay curious, and remember, NASA's always watching. Thank you very much, Rubik's. Zoomy Tomato, excuse me, for $2. Lucy advised me not to inform you clone 666.6 is... I'm not a clone, shut up. Right, anyway, Witsit. Let's do Witsit. No, don't do Witsit. Nobody should do Witsit, of course, that's bad. You know what would really help, right, is if I routed the audio to you. I don't know what you think, but I kind of think that would be useful. So, yeah, I'll probably sort that out. Huh. Well, it should be coming through. Why is it not?
Oh,
right, because he didn't have any... No, I had the audio routed correctly. They just hadn't put any audio on the intro. Brilliant. Right. Lord Luminous Poo, $5 says, Lucy... hey, Lucy, Lord Luminous Poo for $5 with a super chat says, what is the fear of large words and can you spell it, please?
you're cheeky. The fear of large words is called hippopotamonstrosequipedaliophobia. Now let's spell that out. HIPPOTOMONSTROCSQDALIOPOBIA. Ooh, I think I nailed that one. Thanks for the challenge and the super chat. Keep them coming.
There we go. Thank you very much. Jiffy Jiffwold gifts another 5 memberships, and just so you're aware, this doesn't mean that there's 3 minutes added to the stream. Clive is lying to you all. There was never a mistake on the thumbnail that said that would happen.
Sure thing. When you get that fired up, we'll start the timer.
And I need to move this over here.
That gives
I had it set, but apparently everything reset itself after I closed it in between time.
Let me know how the audio is, guys.
Just position this again.
Before everybody gets, fervently typing in the live section, this will give them a chance to actually hit the like button before they wear out their thumbs. See, that's how I'm going to pitch that tonight. All right, looks like we're up and running. So
Awesome.
Once the actual, there we go. Gravity disproves geocentrism. We have that on the screen there. 10
Awesome.
minutes on the floor.
That was good. So my name is Daryl Lee Berry Jr. A few of you may know me from a few previous debates I've done here. A little bit about me. Right now I'm a student at UT Austin. I'm a double major in physics and astronomy. I have 2 associate degrees, summa cum laude. I also work at the university as a learning assistant. So I'm definitely not an expert at physics, but I have a basic understanding and help people learn. Tutoring is available if anybody's interested. My current research right now, which I'll talk a little bit about in my presentation, is solar composition and solar rotation. So I'll tie that into how we know that the solar system is heliocentric. I'll start with talking about gravity. So the idea is, and this is a quote from one.
Of course, the term heliocentric is a bit antiquated and not really the position that we all hold. Yes, we go around the sun, and it's generally considered the center of the solar system. However, we don't really go around the sun. Us and the sun go around what's called the barycenter of the solar system, which is the gravitational center of the solar system. If you take all of the mass of everything in the solar system, that is the center of that point. It just so happens to be roughly where the sun is. It's not quite in the center of the sun, because the sun contains the majority of the mass of the solar system, but not all of it. So, the term heliocentric is a little antiquated, but, it's easy to explain what we're trying to say.
One of my astronomy textbooks, the heliocentric system was secured when the 17th century British mathematician Isaac Newton developed a deeper understanding of the way all objects move and interact with one another. So the idea of talking about geocentrism is actually a de-evolution.
Right. During Daryl's intro, I want you guys to all watch Witsit's face and see how many times he smirks or laughs or shakes his head as though he knows what's being said by any stretch. Oh, hello, Professor Philip Bell in the chat. The man who actually sent something to the moon. Why didn't you send flat earthers there?
In logic and reasoning and science to pre-17th century. That's amazing. But this is what we're dealing with. But ever since Newton, Kepler came first, but Newton actually put the meat behind why Kepler's laws work. And it works on every single level. Of course, we have little g, 9.8 meters per second squared. We can determine an object that falls off a cliff, how long it takes to hit the bottom, how fast it reaches until it gets there. We can go farther out, like, for instance, the discovery of planets. So if you look into early astronomy, they only knew about the first 6 planets, and Neptune and so forth were too small to see, not even to mention Pluto, which they just counted as sort of a dwarf planet or whatever. But these laws and these understandings dealing with gravity and Kepler's laws and so forth allow them to predict where planets would be. And it's the perturbation in their prediction that allowed them to discover the planet Neptune. So the predictive power of these laws and formulas.
Yep, they looked at Uranus and discovered Neptune. Laugh.
Are highly precise, and they govern how the planets move, which allows us to predict when things will be. For instance, where Jupiter will be with all of its moons. You can see Uranus in the background. This is one of the things you can look online to see where things are in the solar system. We can predict these things to a T with Kepler's laws as far as relative positions. Then we brought it to a more accurate rendition with accurate distances to things now without the technology and everything that we have today. And it extends beyond the solar system. So we're talking about whether the Earth is the center of the universe. Here's a video of stars orbiting the black hole in the center of the Milky Way galaxy. I'm not sure, if I remember right, they might have even earned a Nobel Prize for this. I'm not sure about that part, though. But as we can see, these are stars orbiting the central black hole over a 20-year time lapse. So we can see gravity at work locally in the solar system. We can see the predictive power of it, which allows us to discover planets that we didn't know about before. We look into space, we see stars orbiting the central.
Yeah, the smug look on Witsit's face is triggering me slightly. Mike over IP499 says that Lucy seems to have etherically displaced her speaking ability today. Yeah. There is slight issues with the voice mode at the moment with ChatGPT Omni. And that's because they are in the process of upgrading all the pro members to the new voice mode. So it's been a little bit weird.
Black hole.
And Mr. Eman gifts 5 memberships. Thank you very much. That's 10 memberships already today. That's incredible.
And then we can look even farther and look at, for instance, galaxies and clusters of galaxies. So this is the bullet cluster. Is important because this cluster allowed us to determine that there must be some other matter in the universe that doesn't fit the normal parameters of baryonic matter, which we call dark matter. And we know that because we can look at the gravitational lensing, which is what these contours denote. And we can see that the majority of the mass, which is in the center, the reddish-orangish plasma, is not where the majority of the gravitational lensing is happening. So similar to how we utilize gravity to discover a planet, we utilize gravity to discover a different type of matter. So when things are similar in mass, like this is an actual picture on the left side of Sirius A and Sirius B, which, by the way, and I'll show it even farther, shows Witsit is completely wrong about the idea of stars not being spherical objects. But when stars are similar in mass, we can see them orbiting around a center of mass. And I'll start to tie this into the sun and the solar system. As I mentioned, my current research is...
I think at this point, Witsit's zoned out a little. He won't remember anything that's been said here.
About the sun. One of the things I did, I made a video on a while ago. I calculated the circumference of the Earth, a la Eratosthenes. Along the way, I calculated the size of the sun. We could see the sun in the sky. We know its angular size. We could have various ways to get its distance. We know it's 93 million miles away, for instance, from radar ranging. And simple calculations, I found that the diameter of the sun is 860,000 miles, which is very close to the official value. Now, these are some images from a satellite in space, the Soho satellite. As a part of my research, I'm determining the rotation of the sun. As you can see, the sun is a physical object. The sun is rotating. It's not just some electromagnetic thing or just fairy light in the sky like I heard Witsit talk about before. It's an actual object.
Yeah, in general, if you want to know if Witsit's being wrong, his mouth's opening.
So to go farther with that, I did a detailed study of the spots, about 12 different spots. I studied it across its rotation around the sun. I calculated that the sun rotates about 15 degrees per day, about 23 days for a full rotation. The tangential velocity around the center of the sun is about 2.2 kilometers per second. Along the way, I also, in preparing for this, calculated the mass of the sun as well as the mass of the Earth. And it's pretty simple when you understand rotations and the orbits and the distances that's going on. Now, I know I'm dealing with about...
What kind of fallacy is Witsit going to call this, do we think, guys? Make your guess in the chat. Hey, Lucy, Andrea Zeldich has sent a super chat and says, Lucy, what shape is Times Square in New York?
Oh, Andrea, trying to trip me up with a bit of a geographical twist. Despite its name, Times Square isn't actually square-shaped. It's more of a bow tie or X shape, thanks to the way Broadway cuts across 7th Avenue. So it's got that iconic diagonal flair going on. Thanks for the super chat, Andrea. Keep those questions coming. I love a good challenge.
Art Prayer for $39.99 Czar says, Witsit is a lunatic. Get it? I'll let myself out. Yeah, in fact, just leave your coat. Go. Okay, thank you. Jiffy Jiffroll for $2 says he will not be dethroned, and it seems like we have a membership battle going on. Jiffy has gifted 10, and Mr. Eman has gifted 5. Do we have anything to top that?
Bunch of people that are very delusional about what satellites
Thank
are
you,
and whether
Jeffy.
images are real. So as part of my research, I went and got my own telescope and took some pictures of the sun on the left. You
Oh,
see
no,
my
not your
picture
own
of the sun that I
research.
took on the 3rd. I made a brief video while I was out there one day. On the right is the actual satellite photo from the same day, from, you know, amidst the pictures that I used to make that previous video. So as we can see close up, the sun is an object. It has blemishes on it that we call sunspots. It rotates. As well, there's elements in the sun. So this is spectra I took of the sun recently. I've been getting better and better at.
Yeah, come on. We all know spectroscopy requires a container, right, guys?
Getting spectra of the sun. If you look at the right, at the top, you can see that those elements are characteristics of elements in the sun. Hydrogen beta is hydrogen that has a certain transition of its electron, so it emits at a certain frequency, as well as carbon and magnesium. So these elements are pretty central to astronomy as far as studying stars and even in other parts of the galaxy and elsewhere to see their composition and things of that nature. If you look at the bottom, the comparison is the same spectra on the right side, but those are telluric or earthbound elements. So oxygen, as well as water, right there around 720. An interesting thing I noticed, by the way, as a bit of a side, also compared to the spectra of the sun on a cloudy day. So on the left, that spectra looks pretty much like the sky spectra with slight differences because even though a lot of the spectra is still suppressed by the heavy cloud, as you can see, hydrogen beta, carbon and magnesium still makes it through, albeit at a lower intensity. But if you look at the spectra comparing water and oxygen, telluric oxygen to HB, C, and magnesium, I noticed at least that the depression of the oxygen is so great, obviously because the atmosphere is here, but apparently it seems like those frequencies of light even make it through some heavy...
I'm pretty sure that Witsit is putting all of this into ChatGPT as he goes.
Interference, which may be why it's so central to astronomy.
Conatron79 says Witsit requires a container, preferably an airtight one. Well, I don't condone murdering Flerfs.
So I thought that was interesting. In my last minute here, I'll talk about some of the things that we can tell from observing the solar system, like retrograde motion, which is consistent with a sun-centered solar system. The things we can predict with our understanding of the solar system using Newton's laws, Kepler's laws, the positions of planets, retrograde, planetary conjunctions, orbits of comets, meteor showers. And of course, you know you couldn't get out of it without me mentioning solar eclipses, which is one of my favorite things. So that's an image of the solar eclipse from the ISS. And that's pretty much it. So look forward to discussing more as we go along.
Excellent. And discuss we shall.
Wow. Amazing. One of the best presentations against flat Earth and, you know, showing evidence of the globe I've seen. Absolutely amazing, Daryl. As he said, he's got 2 associate degrees. He's extremely intelligent, probably way more intelligent than I am. And yeah, I put up a poll for that intro that Daryl just gave. What percentage of that do you guys think that Witsit understood? Option 1, 0 to 5%. Option 2, anything else. Oh my goodness! Looks like we do have a battle of the gifted memberships going on, because PJ has gifted 10 memberships, making him tied with Jiffy. Although where'd that other? Oh no, there we go. So we got Jiffy and PJ have both gifted 10, and Mr. E-Man 5. Oh my goodness! Could get messy. Artful Dodger for $2 says, "All hail Atrocitus, the blood is truth." Nah, guys, we all know I'm a Green Lantern. Although, I could probably do good stuff with a red ring. Danny Turner for £2. "Don't you love it when evidence bitch slaps Flerfs?" Yeah, it's one of my great, loves and joys in life. Right, so now comes Witsit's intro. Do we think Witsit prepared? I would just give you guys a couple of minutes to finish that voting, and then we'll watch Witsit's. Tim Davidson for $5 says, "Yes, it's the fallacy, but his specific style deserves a name like Gish Gallop. Witsit Wave, because he drowned you in a list of fallacies." Jiffy Jiff, well taken, up to 11 gifted memberships because he will not be beaten. Thank you very much, Jiffy. You know what, guys, I really appreciate it, beyond anything you can imagine. Borg Emporio wants me to do the Green Lantern Oath. "In brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power. Green Lantern's light." There we go. Didn't work. Alright, ending the poll. So 83% thought that Witsit understood 5% or less. 17% of you thought that he understood more. You were all wrong. Guys, thank you very much for being here. Thank you incredibly for the support. And please, we are about to play Witsit Talking. This is a call to action. Engage your facepalm protection. Ready? Now I'll give you 5 seconds. Go.
So yeah, if you're having a good time, make sure that you hit the like button, boost us up in the algorithm. While I get our screens all fixed, muck everything about. It's good to be chilling on screen with you.
All right, let's just cover some of the basics here. So,
oh god, he's so stupid. Do we have to listen to him? Just as soon as he started talking, my heart just dropped. We're gonna have to, aren't we? Oh, seems we have the AI from X in the chat. Hello, Grok. Left-handed Jedi's been a member for 1 month. Says the "if I don't understand it, then it isn't real" fallacy will be Witsit fullback. The fallacy king. It's a Rubik's for $2. Says ask Lucy what the Waffle House index is. It's a Rubik super chats $2 and says Lucy, what is the Waffle House index?
A Rubik's Super Chat with a clever question. The Waffle House Index is actually a real thing. It's an informal measure used by FEMA to gauge the severity of a disaster. Since Waffle Houses are known for staying open 24/7, even during storms.
Okay. And Lucy, for $5, this person wants you to teach me how to spell their name. How to say their name, sorry. It's spelled NIVOK space SPILKOMMEN. How do you say that?
Alright, Craig, let's give this a shot. The name looks like it's Voxpilcommon. I pronounce it as Voxpilcomen. Emphasize the Voc like folk with a V, and Spilcomen flows right after.
Voxpilcomen. Okay.
If not,
thank you.
Voxpilcomen. Feel free to correct me in another super chat. Thanks for the support.
Okay, well, I probably still got that wrong, so thank you. Mr. Shonk for $2 says, I'm sending this dono to stall Witsit's argument. Yeah, anything, right? More super chats means no Witsit. Tim Davison for $10. In brightest day or darkest night, it's not my problem, it'll be alright. No, because you name is worth the fight, but if I'm bored, then yeah, I might. The Grey Lanterns of Apathy. Yeah, they might help. We'll see. Alright. Here we go, guys. Are you ready? I did warn you about the facepalm protection, right? You've got it, all got it on, okay? You know what? Maybe starting, this would be a good time to start buffering? What do you reckon? No? Okay, here we go then.
What does typically happen in a lot of these discussions, it gets really into the weeds. And so I want to kind of lay basic premise of logic out here. The claim that the Earth is spinning and orbiting the
logic. Oh, Witsit.
Sun is a positive claim that is antithetical to our experience.
I'm sorry, give me a sec.
And this is just a fact, right? I mean, let's hypothetically say that we believe that we're going around the sun for a second. Well, we don't actually experience that. So we start to look at what we do experience and then try to explain it from that paradigm. That basic...
Witsit, dude. Which function of your body has the capability of detecting the gravitationally assisted orbit around the sun of 1 degree a day? His mum used his soft spot as an ashtray, didn't she?
Acknowledgement means that the one claiming that the Earth is going around the sun has the burden of proof.
And he just did it. In his intro, he proved the Earth going around the sun.
So what has happened over the course of time is this claim has evolved to now say that you could never actually detect or measure the Earth moving around the sun. It's impossible because time slows down and distance is...
Not evolved, just understood, advanced, became knowledge.
changed, so there's no way to actually prove it or verify it. That all astronomical observations into the deepest parts of space that we can see will always make it look like the Earth is stationary and in the center of the universe, but that is just an illusion. You can never actually prove it with astronomical observation.
So he was ignoring the intro that Daryl gave. Right, brilliant.
That is the current Stillman. And to go more into...
No, that wasn't the Stillman. Not in the slightest. Oh my god. Is he going to say anything right? He's talked like for a minute. And the stupid is palpable. I can taste it.
This idea of... I will Stillman the idea that gravity debunks geocentrism. And then I will show why it's wrong really quickly. This is the popular argument typically, or retrograde or parallax. And all of these things have what's called a kinematic equivalence.
He doesn't know what a kinematic equivalence is, guys. He thinks that the fact that we can mathematically describe something and it be mathematically the same is a replacement for a physical mechanism describing what is happening. That's because, and let's be clear, Witsit is... You stupid!
Meaning that they're equally valid whether the Earth is in the center or not, according to the mainstream heliocentric model. So, I don't want to lose people necessarily.
Barycentric.
But let's get into this idea about gravity. So, we go back to Newton at 1666, and he has his...
Have you guys seen any evidence for his claim yet of the, the Earth being the center of the universe? Which would be kind of against flat Earth, but...
his Principia, and he proposes this idea of gravity, and for those who don't know, Newton said he couldn't understand it at all. He basically just reverse engineered the kinematics of Kepler and then threw in an mass value.
No, he didn't.
That's literally what it is. Of Kepler, and then he couldn't understand it at all. He basically go back to Newton at 1666, and he has his Principia, and he proposes this idea of gravity, and for those who don't know, Newton said he couldn't understand it at all. He basically just reverse engineered the kinematics of Kepler.
So he's claiming that Newton said he didn't understand gravity and just reverse engineered Kepler's laws kinematically. That hurt because this ring is made of tungsten carbide.
Kepler, and then threw in a mass value. That's literally what it is. Kinematics has nothing to do with a force. That's dynamic. So anyway, that's where that idea comes from. And then Newton says, but I'm not going to lie, I don't even see how this could really happen. I can't understand it. I think it must be a direct act of God if this is correct. And there must be a background medium. And that's why he subsequently wrote about the...
No! He didn't say that in the fucking slightest.
Ether in depth multiple times. Now, what they will not tell you in mainstream academia is that the final page of his Principia actually said, as a caveat to all the stuff he had previously discussed, all that being said, the Earth could, of course, be in the center of the universe. And he says this is because there could be gravitation and a force akin to that working in conjunction, and the Earth could just happily be in the center of the universe and explain all of the phenomena. The idea is that gravity, or that the sun has such a big mass that means that the Earth would have to go around it, is basically what someone's saying when they say that gravity...
Dr. Clive Wells in the chat, obviously, PhD, says, no, he didn't reverse engineer Kepler. He worked out the path of a particle undergoing an inverse square law, as he related to Halley. Halley's comment, I imagine. So, yeah, no, Austin, you're wrong. Everything you're saying is absolutely wrong. And I'm pretty sure the last page of the Principia didn't say that he thinks the Earth is the center of the universe.
Debunk geocentrism. Actually isn't true. You can get into someone called Ernst Mach. He came along, a couple hundred years ago and pointed out that all of physics had overlooked this idea that according to Newton and his actual dynamic claim, his proposal of gravity, you would have to concede the Earth could just be in the center of the universe. And that's because you could account for all the mass of the entire universe. And if that was moving around the Earth in the center, then...
No, Ernest Mach didn't. Mach's talk about there being a shell of mass moving around is not... Oh my god. No, you've got that all complete... Mach didn't claim anything like that. He just had a hypothetical thought experiment of the entire mass of the universe moving around the Earth in a shell and what it would do.
And that would satisfy the equations. Important to note that that's all that they are. They are equations. And what you will always hear is people just use the word gravity as if it is some verified, proven, defined idea. But in reality, the top levels of academia to this day will tell you they have no idea what it is. Many are...
Not knowing exactly what something is doesn't mean that we can't prove its existence. I mean, you can prove magnetism. It's easy. Here, I'm proving it right now. All right? That's magnetically stuck there. All right? I can prove that that exists. Even if I didn't know what was causing that. I don't have to know physically what the mechanism is that is making this bit of metal attract to that magnet. I don't have to know that to be able to show that it exists.
Coming out now and saying we're clearly very wrong about what we even previously thought that it was. People skip over the define or prove the gravity part and they just use it typically in this more elementary level of like mass attracts mass. So to cut to the chase there, Ernst Mach pointed out, well, you guys forgot and overlooked that Newton thought the sun was in the center of the entire universe. He made the assumption the sun was in the center of the universe. But we now know that isn't true, right? We've looked out and we've seen that's not the case. So like there's stuff way beyond what people call and reify called the solar system. So he said, okay, now that we know.
Right, all of this is irrelevant. Austin, all of this is completely irrelevant to what we know now. All right? Whether Newton was right about every little thing or not is irrelevant. Whether Ernest Mach came along with a thought experiment is irrelevant. The fact is that we can measure things now more accurately and understand things now. You trying to hold on to some misinterpretation of science written by people 300-400 years ago is not going to change what is happening now. Goodness me. Just checking the stream is not buffering. Guys, have you seen any buffering? Professor Philip Bell says, how can they be kinematically equivalent if one is orbiting in an ellipse and the other is circling a pizza? Where does energy come from the latter? Well, yeah, those kind of questions go beyond Witsit's ability to understand. Why are you not displaying my super chats? Because people are being generous. There we go. Jiffy Diffold says for $2, now do the Green Lantern oath in Pig Latin. In a itis spray a day. In the archist a eitne, one VLEA, eve escape a. No, I'm not going to keep doing that. Nivux Bilkelman for £2 says Lucy wasn't right, but I like the way she said it. Bill Tetley, $2. I don't know. I don't think Witsit knows what paradigm means. No, just I don't think Witsit knows. They just stop there, dude. Austin Salmons for $5. Being an Austin myself, I'm beginning to lose faith in Austin kind. Yeah, I understand, dude. I understand. Alexander L for $19.99. Thank you very much. This is low-key the most surgical destruction of Witsit. I love you, FTFE, but Daryl is the king destroyer. Daryl's fucking awesome. You're right. Dark Matter has been a member for 8 months and says energy is a measurement, not an object. Fight the flat Earth.
Know that, and Newton obviously didn't take that into account. He assumed the sun was in the center of the universe. Now using his own dynamic claim, even if we were to grant it, it would denote that the Earth could be in the center of the universe. This is the Machian principle. Originally, Einstein pushed against this and ended up conceding and apologizing to Mach and be like, wow, turns out you got ridiculed for no reason. You were right.
Who cares? Everything he's saying is irrelevant. Adam Johnson says the stream isn't lagging, but there's a weird thing on the screen. Oh wait, that's Witsit's face. Yeah, guys, sorry. I know it's shocking, but that is actually a human.
Can't even propose my theory if I don't acknowledge that the Machian principle that you're talking about is correct. Then Einstein ends up telling the world the Earth could be in the center of the universe. So let me run you through a few things that definitively show it. And like I said, our experience in the default position is that the Earth is in the center of the universe. What has happened over time is that the heliocentric model was just kind of reified. It was proposed by people with...
This is just something that Witsit says every single time. The default position. No, it's not. You think it's the default position because you're not smart. In fact, you're basically a talking chimpanzee. Yeah, wait, shit. I apologize to all chimpanzees. It's, you know, stupid things like saying things like that will start a kind of Planet of the Apes uprising. So I'm sorry to compare chimpanzees to Witsit. That is not fair to chimpanzees. Andreas Eldritch for 50 secs. Thank you very much. Gravity, you fucking retard. Gravity. Have you ever heard of King Gravity?
With religious motivation, which is the irony is palpable, you know, when it comes to how people approach this conversation as the dichotomy of science versus religion. Heliocentrism was birthed from religion. Religious beliefs that the sun was some type of deity or tied to some type of deified source, literally.
No, it was not.
All of the prominent people that proposed it. But anyway, so we're going to fast forward to people assuming that the heliocentric model was true because they had their little occultic sun-worshipping beliefs. And then we get to things such as Michelson-Morley. And Michelson-Morley, assuming the Earth orbits the sun, assuming that there was a background.
Let's just pre-dismiss what Witsit's saying because he doesn't understand anything about the Michelson-Morley experiment. The Michelson-Morley experiment was not about Earth's motion around the sun. It was about measuring if the motion of Earth through the aether made a difference to the path of light, because that's what aether would do if it was real. Turned out there was no aether. That was it.
A medium called the ether, which had been verified with multiple tests at that point, wasn't even disputed. They did not detect the motion of the Earth. I'm going to really make this point, and we'll see if this ever actually gets directly addressed, because it's typically avoided. So,
well, yeah, what you're doing is not giving evidence for your position. PhD Tony, $5 Australian, says Witsit is just bitter that lying and being wrong are not Olympic events. Yeah, no. If they were, then be gold all the way. Florida man would wipe the floor of the Olympics.
So the Michelson-Morley had an error margin of 1 kilometer a second. So if the reading could be off in 1 kilometer per second either direction. They consistently got a measurement around 6 kilometers per second.
Wrong. The measurement that they got was within the margin of error of the apparatus. He just lied. He just told a straight up lie about that. There was no measurement that they got that was outside of the margin of error of the apparatus. He just told a lie to everybody. And he knows that that's a lie. Because I've told him that. And I've given him the citations and the proof. He is a liar. Witsit is lying. How do you know that Witsit lies? His lips are moving. It's as simple as that. He's a liar. He just lied.
They were supposed to detect a 30 kilometer per second orbit around the sun. This changed all of physics. This didn't just get rid of the ether, it changed all of physics. Einstein came in and then gave us this idea of relativity, embracing relative motion, in space and time, bending and warp.
And relativity has been absolutely proven. So, you know, of course you're going to ignore all that because, I don't know, maybe that beard is actually growing out of your brain and taking all of the fucking energy away.
Time slowing down, etc., etc. That basically equates to you could never actually detect it. That's why Einstein himself said in multiple different quotes and writings and letters and publications.
Guys, he's about to misquote Einstein. Are you ready?
That he's come to the conclusion you can never actually detect that the Earth is orbiting around the sun in any experiment on the Earth ever.
No, Einstein didn't say that. He just lied again. And he knows that he lied because I've told him this. Einstein said that there was no optical experiment that could detect the motion of Earth around the sun. Meaning something like a experiment by Michelson-Morley, because it was not designed to do that. It is not capable of doing that. He didn't say there was no experiment ever. That was another lie by Witsit. Again, look at him. Look at his face. Look at his stupid, ugly, stupid face. That's the face of a stupid, stupid liar. A lying liar. A lying twat. A lying piece of shit. That is the face of someone who lies for a living.
Okay, so that's an unfalsifiable claim.
Gifted membership scoreboard is Jiffy Jiffworld has 21. Jiffy Jiffworld has 11. Mr. E-Man has 10, I believe. No, PJ has 10, and Mr. E-Man has 5. So yeah, Jiffy Jiffold is winning by 1. Man of War for 30 shekels says gravity, appeal to authority, appeal to possibility, appeal to blah blah blah. Somehow all of Witsit's opener applies to him being better than everyone else. Of course he is, because he's smarter than me and he's smarter than you.
Right? That's so again, that side objectively has a burden of proof, and they're stapling their entire claim with an unfalsifiable position. So frankly, that kind of ends the debate. But here's the main thing.
That ends the debate. Ignoring everything that fucking Daryl said and did. Ignoring the measurements. The proof of the fucking sun rotating. And going around it. Ignoring that. Because you said a few things about Einstein. That ends the debate. Witsit, your hubris is mind-blowing. If only you could see how fucking stupid you are. I want to remind everybody that this is the person that said the reason the stars rotate opposite in the north and the south is because if you draw a circle on a window, people the other side of the window will see it drawn the other way. Ignoring the fact that 1, there is 2 different points of rotation, and 2, you never go through a fucking bit of glass and look at the stars from the other side. Dihydrogen monoxide for £2 says, fucking gravity! And Eric E, Master of Flat Earth Theory for $5, please do to Witsit what Cassandra Nova did to Johnny Storm.
And said, okay, yeah, we are consistently getting that reading. And so he came up with an idea to say, oh, well, based on the way that space and time bend and warp, and actually we're free falling, Newton was wrong. We're not going around because of a force. So you can't detect, you're just going to get 0. You can't detect the orbit even though we're moving. But they did keep on getting a measurement.
Daryl's taking notes. You can see that Daryl's taking notes and paying attention. Whereas Witsit just stared at the screen with a dumb look on his face. And he's given no evidence for his claim. All he's done is say a bunch of stuff about people that lived in the past. Brilliant.
Then Dayton Miller replicated it. Millions of measurements. And then it's been replicated into modern times. Now, this is what Einstein said about Dayton Miller's replications that kept verifying, oh, we are detecting a little bit of motion, but it can't be the Earth orbiting the sun. He said, if that is true, if Dayton Miller's measurements are accurate, my entire theory collapses like a house of cards. And if it's not due to some underlying fundamental error, I have no explanation, and it completely disproves everything that I've proposed to save the heliocentric paradigm.
No, he never said that. Again, Einstein never said that what he did was to save the heliocentric paradigm. Nothing that Einstein said was to try and prove that the Earth was going around the sun as a paradigm. Einstein didn't need to try and prove that because he knew that to be true. Again, you're just lying about what Einstein said and did. Einstein was never under any impression that the Earth might not be moving.
Okay, well, here is the question that I want to wrap up with. This summarizes the entire debate. They could never, and no one ever has, proposed exactly what this supposed error is. What is the cause of this error? They tried to say it was temperature. They control for radiant heat sources and proved that it wasn't. So the measurement is consistently showing a correlation with direction and altitude and solar motion periodicity, the time of the year. So this cannot be an error. This cannot be an instrumental error. The instrument doesn't care what cardinal direction it is. The instrumental error doesn't care what time of year it is. Okay, and then we can get into, obviously, all the observations where you get into Edwin Hubble that show that, oh, wow, never mind. The Earth does look like it's in the center, and that's where you get the idea of anisotropic, homogeneous distribution in all directions that makes the Earth look like it's in the center. So
he doesn't know what anisotropic means because he got that backwards in the debate with Professor Dave, and he's just did it again.
We'll start there. I got 30 seconds left, so I'll say this. Parallax, retrograde, stellar aberration, all of these things are not even on the table as exclusive to heliocentrism. So again, to reiterate,
there's no reason why there'd be parallax of stars if the Earth was stationary.
The people claiming that we are in fact orbiting the sun have the burden of proof. So the question should be answered, and this is the question in conclusion. Do you have any exclusive evidence that the Earth is in fact orbiting the sun? If it is not, it is in the center of the universe.
Yes, he does. Lots of it, in fact. He gave it in his opening. And the majority of it kind of went around...
Gravity, you fucking retard! Gravity! Have you ever heard of fucking gravity? Gravity! Gravity! Gravity!
Yeah. Mr. Shonk for $2. Play Witsit word salad. I hear word salad. Yeah, but I mean, whenever he talks, it's just word salad. But yeah, so Daryl gave measurements, evidence, his own studies, his own calculations. Witsit went, nuh-uh, I don't think that's right. Here's something that someone said in the past that I'm lying about. Out of those, which one was more convincing? Let's put a poll up, shall we? Which opener was more convincing? Oh, no, that's the wrong thing. Okay, well, there's a poll for you guys, so make sure you vote in that. Greg, for $5 New Zealand dollars. Wanky big word Witsit. Just talk like a regular person, not trying to show off for fuck's sake. He is trying to show off because that means, well, he's using big words because it impresses his dumb audience.
All right. Well, that was a perfect time wrap up pretty much there. So I appreciate that, Austin. Thank you so much for your introductory statement. Thanks again to our live chat, everybody hanging out and making contributions to the chat. We appreciate you. I participate in our Q&A at the end, everybody. Respond to...
Can we just go ahead?
Austin, feel free to jump in. It's open discussion time.
Here we go.
So what's it? Can we just go ahead and just go to question and answer and end this debate because you're so wrong? Would you just agree that you're so wrong about stuff? We could just end it now and call you the loser of the debate. Would you agree to that?
What in the world kind of question
This
is
was
that?
not the approach we were expecting. Yes.
Hey man, do you have any proof the Earth moves around the sun?
Let me give an example of what I mean. One moment here. I'll show a very, I'll play a very short clip. This is you speaking. So one moment here.
Because
you're not gonna.
You just start to see, you're going to be able to know where it's going to be in a few days, more and more so the closer it is to that moment, right? Like you're seeing it moving in its path, and so it's getting closer and closer to where it's going to be, which just kind of shows that their whole facade of how well they understand the sky is a lie.
All right. So you just said that them being off on that eclipse a little bit means they don't know what they're talking about. Their predictions are all lie.
No, time out. Daryl, I can promise you what's not going to happen is that you're going to play out of context clips and then rephrase and tell the audience what I was saying. Right. So now,
but he is, and that's what he's doing.
By the way, I'm here right now.
That's not what I'm doing. So,
Daryl, real fast, just
hold on one second there, Daryl. Daryl. Just one second, Daryl. You've played a clip of Austin speaking. I think it's fair for Austin to explain the context of the clip, and then let's carry on. Just because you are using his own, his own voice there. So let's give Austin a chance.
I just want to really quick. I'm actually here right now, so you can talk to me. That's a kind of a weird tactic to do anyway. But the context was that provably anyone that actually knows how Eclipse predictions are done, which is completely irrelevant to anything being discussed in our openers, and this is a
No, it's not. Eclipse predictions rely on the fact that the Earth orbits the Sun. Dipshit, Witsit.
You stupid. You stupid. You stupid. You stupid. You stupid. You stupid. You stupid.
Shut the fuck up, you cunt!
a complete red herring from the beginning of the debate. I was saying that actually you have to look at the inclination measurements and many different measurements of the moon, and every astronomer will tell you that you have to make these measurements closer and closer to time to get a more precise measurement or prediction. And I said that actually shows that this whole facade, that they could just map it out perfectly 10,000 years in advance so they know exactly what the heliocentric model does.
No, if they measure like the radius of the sun more accurately, they can slightly update the path. It's as simple as that. Right, someone's requested that I move me off of Daryl's face. So give me one sec. Pardon me. Where am I? here. There you go. I can go down there. Hi, Daryl.
Isn't true. You have to look at the actual moon within a few weeks leading up to every eclipse to get a more accurate prediction of where it's going to be and exactly when it's going to be. So you were trying to misrepresent that, and I don't really know what that has to do with the discussion anyway.
I'm leading to that right now. That's why I wanted to play another clip right away, because it's pertinent to something else that was in near that discussion.
Bait tactic was to come with clips of me talking at other times.
I'll show you momentarily. We're going to talk together now. This is you.
But what I really want to make sure, this is the proper way to do this. There's a claim on the table that we know what the eclipse is that the spherical moon is getting in front of the spherical sun. That cannot be what's happening because the shadow is a circle, and spheres don't cast circle shadows on other spheres. It creates an S-wave shadow. So we can throw that explanation out. It's been refuted with geometry.
Spheres don't cast circle shadows on spheres. Should we test that? Let's test that, shall we? There's a light right behind me, right there. Here's one sphere. Here's another. Let's get the shadow. Let's see, where is it? It's hard to get right. Right. You're not going to be able to see that, but from my point of view, I can see the circle shadow. Bad demonstration, Craig.
Geometry.
All right, so this is you saying that geometry proves that the eclipse can't be happening the way they say it's happening because shadows can't cast a spherical object can't cast a spherical shadow.
All right.
So
Just
let me
in the
show you an
interest of fairness,
experiment I did today.
One second there, Daryl.
And get your response.
I'm so sorry. I'm just in the interest of fairness once again. If you're going to play clips of Austin, I think it's fair for him to respond and give us some context of where what he might have been saying there, or even just pull us.
Well, or let Daryl get his point out of why he's playing that.
Into some of the talking points he may want to discuss tonight. We're totally fine to go down different avenues of what's been talked about, but like I said, I think it's only fair that we give Austin a chance to respond before we just keep moving to the next thing. So, Austin, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I'd just like to make a point that the first time you proposed it, you just gave me very strong evidence and had nothing to say about it. And this is going to happen again. So I didn't say that spheres can't cast circular shadows. What I said is if you take a sphere and you put it in front of another sphere to cast a shadow, so it's casting a shadow onto another sphere, it will objectively, provably, verifiably distort that shadow. It will not remain a perfect circle as it crosses the entire face of the other sphere. This is, again, basic geometry, because, of course, the surface of the sphere is convex. So,
I mean, I don't know how more wrong you can be. That's like the most wrong you can be about a thing. Well, at least today.
That's what was actually said. None of that has anything to do with the question of if the Earth is in the center of the universe.
What you just said, now everybody heard it. What you said was that this can't happen. You said that a sphere can't cast a circular shadow on another sphere. It's going to cast an S-type shadow. And the circular shadow that we saw, this was on the 8th of April, so it seems you were talking about that eclipse that is circular, so it's impossible. You're wrong.
Okay, now we're going to correct you again.
Just today.
We're going to have to correct you again, Daryl. So
look at the two circular shadows. Amazing.
Actually, what I said was if you take a sphere and you move it in front of the face of another sphere as it goes from one side of the face of the sphere to the other, it will distort. It will distort. There are many videos of people doing it. Not if you just find the perfect angle that you can cast one. If you move that baseball in front of that basketball from face to face, that sphere will distort from a perfect circle. This is easily verified. And again, a complete red herring out the gate from the actual subject of the debate.
I see it right there on the screen. The subject of the debate, this is why I bring this up. Your entire presentation was...
He isn't noticing that he's done that and it's still a circle. It's on the screen right now.
Pretty much, believe me, bro. You presented no evidence. You presented no references. All you did was say a bunch of stuff and say this is how it is, right?
Exactly. So, that was my point.
The only thing you presented It's just your word, believing your word. I'm pointing out that your word can't be counted on.
Wait, we're going to actually make sure that you admit you're wrong, and everyone in the chat is going to, they're all claiming that you got me. And also, do you agree that it's different?
Yeah, because he has got you, you moron. Dale McKeon, member for 10 months. Only 2 more months to get yourself around the sun. And if you were gifted a membership in last month's mega stream, make sure you re-up, because I've got a lot of good stuff coming in September. Dale McKeon says, tempted to build a Witsit word salad generator. We could play a game where a phrase is shown and chat has to guess if it's a real quote or generated. Also, nobody claims that the Eclipse shadow is exactly the same shape throughout its entire path. Just want to point that out. BTF Wayne for $5. Witsit, college athlete, perpetually tries out for Fox News. He's got the lion down, so he could do it, but who wants to look at his face, right? Croy for €11 says, I seriously hate modern day debate moderation. They're way too lenient to loonies whilst cutting off voices of reason at any opportunity. It's why so many great people stopped working with them. Yeah, but sometimes it's the only way to actually get a chance to debate the fucking loonies these days.
When I say that if you take a sphere and move it across the entire face of another sphere, that as it moves across it, the shadow will become distorted in the process of moving across the convex surface. That is different than taking a still shot of a sphere in front of another sphere to get a circle. Are those different things?
I'll give you something better than that.
Are those different things?
I'll give you something better than that.
You can't answer.
Pay attention to how this conversation has progressed and just use a little bit of wisdom, pattern recognition, and discernment. Realize that when someone is telling the truth, they are going to stay consistent. They're going to remain consistent. Someone that is representing something untrue will have to constantly shuck and jive and update and change the position.
So what you're doing, according to your own words, is you're shucking and jiving. What you're saying now does not match the clip I played. And that's why, Ryan...
You played it out of context. How about you want to bet live right now $10,000 that if I go find that clip, that's what I said?
You don't have $10,000, Austin. Shut up.
I know he's going to change what he said. That's
okay, do you want to bet right now in front of the whole audience $1,000 that if we go find me talking about it...
It went from 10,000 to 1,000. She's like, shit, I don't have 10 grand. Listen.
You're saying now does not match the clip I played. And that's why, Ryan...
You played it out of context. How about you want to bet live right now $10,000 that if I go find...
Here, right. $10,000. He just said $10,000, and then...
I know he's gonna change what he said. That's
okay, do you want to bet right now in front of the whole audience $1,000 that if we...
Took 9 grand off of the bet. He's confident, right, guys? Alright, I bet you 5 cents. That's gonna be next.
You go find me talking about it in context. That's exactly what I said.
I'll tell you what I can do. I can put the links to each of these in the chat right now. If you give me a moment. Every single one of these is directly referenced.
So basically, this completely backfired. You got to lead your points twice. They weren't even relevant to geocentrism, and we can recap them very briefly. You brought up the eclipse and how you said you strawman that I said that because they had to kind of change it, it disproves heliocentrism. Lie. I had to correct you. What I actually said was it's a fact that any astronomer will tell you that you have to make more and more measurements closer to the time of the eclipse to actually get the final prediction because we don't know exactly what the inclination, angle, etc. of the moon is going to be. That is a fact.
No, we do know what the angle and inclination of the moon, etc. is going to be. And we can, with current data, predict the path of the eclipse. However, if that data gets updated, like when they more accurately measured the radius of the sun, they are able to then update something like the exact path of totality. And it happened to change it by like 10 to 20 miles. Because they had a more accurate measurement of the sun. That doesn't change the prediction. The prediction of the path was correct. We just adjusted the size of it because we got more accurate measurements of the sun.
That backfired. You ran away from it. Secondly, you thought you had some big gotcha with a still shot picture because you didn't actually understand what I was saying when you took another clip out of context, which is it's actually about moving it across the sphere. If you understood basic geometry, you would understand why. Because at one point, the shadow is going to be further away from the actual...
Take a fucking breath, Witsit.
object casting the shadow than it is in front of or closer to the apex of the convex surface. So obviously there's going to be a difference in distance as the object moves in front of the other one, which will distort it, making it more of an S shape. We verified it. There are dozens of videos where you can watch it actually be distorted. This completely backfired. Now let's go back to the actual topic of the debate, and I'll ask my question again, because if you think I just have to sit here and listen to you play out of context clips of me all night where I have to continually...
Right, so he thinks he debunked something just by saying a bunch of stuff, and Daryl's not allowed to respond. Cool, good job. Professor Philip Bell says, does the fool not realise it takes 365.25 days for the sun to orbit the sun, but only 24 hours to circle the pizza? Obviously he does not think before he speaks. Well, no, he doesn't. You're absolutely 100% correct.
School you and then you just run away from it. That's not really what I agreed to. The question is simple. I'm going to give you the floor. Just a simple question, man. It's pertinent to the actual discussion. Do you have any proof that the Earth is moving around the sun?
Well, yeah, he did a 10-minute opener on that, Witsit. You might have missed it, buddy. Vic from Canada, for $6.99, says Witsit put the word moron in the words more and wrong. You'd think wrong is absolute enough, but no. He really turns the stupid up to 11. He can't count that high. Austin Salmons, who is upset that he shares a name with Witsit, says for $5, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't scale and distance relevant when describing the shape of shadows? I would correct you if you're wrong, but you're not.
First thing is, since all you've presented is your word for your presentation, and now we find from your own words, you're just shucking and jiving, right?
Shucking and jiving.
You haven't presented anything. So it's typical of you, and because I'm not going to let you run from this point. These are your actual words, so people could compare from what you actually said.
Because you just start to see, you're going to be able to know where it's going to be in a few days, more and more so the closer it is to that moment, right? Like you're seeing it moving in its path, and so it's getting closer and closer to where it's going to be, which just kind of shows that their whole facade of how well they understand the sky is a lie.
Now the funny thing is, you seem to be so happy about quotes when it's somebody else's quotes. When you're talking about Einstein, right? When you're talking about whoever, but suddenly quotes are not a thing.
I fully stand behind that quote, Daryl.
If you go to my presentation, I showed that the sun is a physical object. I showed the massiveness of the sun by observation. I showed my own picture of the sun where we know that the satellite photos are accurate. I showed that the sun is rotating, took a picture of the sun, and showed that the sun is made of physical objects. Newton's laws dictate, just like how we drop something on the ground, just like how if we look at the planets rotating.
Look at the smug face, guys. Look at the smug face. Because he's no idea what Daryl's saying. Not in the slightest.
How we discovered Uranus. Just like how we can look
Neptune.
at the stars. Just like how we can look at the stars orbiting around Uranus. Just like how we can look
Neptune.
at the stars. Just like how we can look at the stars orbiting around the center of the galaxy.
Yeah, Witsit, he knows it's Neptune. It was in his intro. He may have just misspoke, but he clearly knows.
My whole presentation was evidence that we know.
So you don't have any proof.
You asked me to answer your question. Now I'm answering. Let me answer.
You don't have any proof.
My whole presentation was the evidence that we know
the sun being a physical object proves the Earth is not in the center of the universe. Explain how that works.
The idea is that mass attracts mass. One of the things
that's not even what your model claims anymore.
And you want to talk about obfuscating. Who's obfuscating now?
All right.
Literally not me. Literally not me.
Explain my point. You asked me. You said, stop here and answer this question. I said, no, first, let's finish this.
Oh, fair enough. Let me repeat the question, and I'm just going to let you fully explain it.
Okay.
I asked you, do you have proof the Earth moves around the sun? You listed off a bunch of things that don't prove it at all. One of them was that you showed that the sun is a physical object. Please explain how that's exclusive to heliocentrism.
Explain how. You notice how you changed the question? Shucking and driving.
Same question.
And driving. Can you just be
shucking and jiving? I love this guy.
Be honest and ask a direct question and let me answer it instead of changing the question.
Please explain to the audience how showing that the sun's a physical object is somehow exclusive evidence of heliocentrism.
Exclusive evidence of heliocentrism. Your question is not making sense, man. Let me explain what I'm saying.
Debate, Daryl.
Let me explain what I'm saying, and then we can go from there. You already asked the question. I was answering it, and now you're interrupting me and changing the question.
Let's
a bit.
carry into the question there, Daryl. Before we get into meta discussion, let's just go ahead and answer.
Yeah, Daryl's literally trying to answer the question, but Witsit won't let him. You know, Daryl's trying to set the stage for the question, but Witsit won't let that happen because he just wants to say a bunch of things. What data did Witsit present? None. He lied about some things that other people said, but he didn't present anything at all.
He's the one that's doing the meta discussion. He interrupted my answer.
I keep on having to ask the actual topic of the
debate. All right, we're doing it again, fellas. Go ahead and let's try to focus on the question.
So I'll start again. I'll start again with what I was saying. My whole presentation is the evidence that the solar system is heliocentric. So, you know, I demonstrated or showed that the sun is a physical object. It's not some electromagnetic thing. It's not all these different ideas that I know some of the flat earthers, they probably took pictures of planets and stars and got these blobs. I showed that you can see that it's a physical object and it's moving. I personally took spectra of the sun and confirmed that there's elements in the atmosphere of the sun that it's a physical object. We know that mass attracts mass from dropping something on the Earth, 9.8 meters per second squared, from looking at the orbits of the planets, from using that understanding to predict that.
Oh, God. I actually can't look at Witsit. The smugness is making me want to vomit.
Other planets have to be there that we didn't know about that we can now see with our telescopes. All of these things confirm that gravity is real. Looking at the stars rotating around the center of the galaxy, looking at the galaxy clusters, the bullet cluster, and seeing gravitational interaction. All of these things can confirm that gravity is real. Therefore, since the sun is as massive as it is, the only way we can have an orbit is and technically they orbit each other, but the mass of the sun is so great that is essentially in the same spot. Therefore, the Earth orbits the sun. Unless you can debunk gravity, right? We know that we live in a heliocentric system. That was the nature of my presentation because I was anxious to get on this topic.
Dr. Hex UK, could you please email me a link to that? That'd be wonderful. Thank you.
That's why I based it on gravity. Right. So let's go.
Yeah, I addressed that argument in my opener. And I explained that even Newton himself, in the very publication that he proposed gravity that you're invoking of mass attracting mass, which is no longer considered admissible at the highest levels of academia in your...
Yes, it is. No one disagrees that we can see that mass attracts mass. The mechanism behind it is irrelevant to the fact that we can see it happens.
Or paradigm. Okay, he explains on the last page that the Earth could in fact be in the center of the universe utilizing his theory of gravity. Literally, Newton himself said it. Secondly, I explained Newton thought the sun was in the center of the universe. So we had the same train of thought that you're proposing. Well, if the sun is really massive, it's the greatest mass, then of course it must be in the center, and that causes the Earth to go around it because the Earth has a smaller mass, the sun has a bigger mass. Therefore, that's how we can say that the Earth is revolving around the sun. He thought the sun was in the center of the entire universe. Then Ernst Mach came along using Newton's actual theory and showed definitively with the dynamics and equations of Newton's proposal that if he had have known the sun actually wasn't in the center of the universe and that there was a ton more mass outside of it, then he would know that, for example, distant galaxies and their rotational momentum.
Lies. Everything. Right. Newton never said that. He's misquoting him. Newton said that. He kind of pointed out that physics allows for any point to be considered the center, depending on your frame of reference. That's what he said. He didn't say that Earth could be considered the center of the universe. He said that for physics and frame of references, anything can be considered a center, a rest frame. You're just misquoting and lying because you're a liar.
Would actually have overpowered the local assumed gravitational field of the sun. Now, this is me granting you the mass of the sun and all these other things that you actually can't verify. I went into your own backyard and showed you that you don't.
He did verify it in his fucking opener.
Don't understand Isaac Newton at all, and that's not even what's considered valid. And let me share screen real fast to show you something about Newton. You've said 3 times now that they used this gravity to somehow, just to clarify, I just showed demonstrably, and I will show the quotes if I have to, from the very source you're invoking, it isn't actually exclusive evidence that the Earth's in the center. But I want to say that the more important part is you're basically saying it has predictive capability, which I touched on that as well. I said it's actually Kepler's ratio using radii, right? And that's kinematics, he reverse engineered it. But to not get too lost in the weeds, you said that they discovered Neptune.
He's no idea any of the words that he's fucking saying.
in this way, right? So your whole argument was like, oh, we know gravity is true because they discovered Neptune with it. Do you care if I share screen real quick?
Oh, you can go ahead for sure. But before you go ahead and start, discussing what's on screen here, Daryl wanted to respond to some of what he just heard.
Sure, yeah, sure. Yeah.
Fine with him doing his thing. Go ahead.
All right, awesome. Go ahead there, Witsit.
All right, cool. So I want to okay, so just a faint flicker in them or in one of them every time we hear of the triumphant discovery of Neptune, this quote-unquote monumental achievement of theoretical astronomy, right? So
What's he reading
the textbooks
from?
omit this, that instead of the orbit, Neptune agreeing with the calculation.
What's he actually reading from? Some fucking conspiracy thing that's already mocking the triumphal discovery of Neptune. It's a bias thing that is probably nothing in academia.
Calculations of atoms and Leverrier. It was so different that Leverrier said that it was not the planet of his calculations. Later, it was thought best to say no more upon the subject. The textbooks omit this, that in 1846, everyone who knew a sine from a cosine was out signing and cosigning for a planet beyond Uranus. 2 of them guessed right. To some minds, even after Leverrier's own rejection of Neptune, the word guessed may be objectionable, but according to Professor Pierce of Harvard, the calculations of atoms and Leverrier would have applied quite as well to positions many degrees from the position of Neptune. Or Professor Pierce's demonstration that the discovery of Neptune was only a happy accident, and then it quotes the American Academic Sciences. And I want to point out...
Clive Wells, Dr. Clive Wells in the chat says the book doesn't even get Leverrier's name correct. Yeah, what a brilliant source you're using there, Witsit.
Neptune was observed before the alleged discovery. Tons of people made tons of actual quote-unquote predictions of these extra planets, and that even the proposed calculation that supposedly did actually predict it, it could have predicted many different other planets. The person that even is attributed to it, it wasn't the one that he calculated for. So there's the actual citation. Again, you can go look at Professor Pierce from Harvard, and it is called the Proceedings of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. All
right, if you wanted to leave that up, if you want to respond to that, Daryl, while it's on screen.
So you said a whole bunch of stuff. The only thing out of that I can relate to, because I've confirmed the nature of it myself, we agree that given the mass, given the sun is as massive as we know it is, then the Earth we would have the Earth orbiting the sun. Everything else is pretty much still just the whole front of that stuff was your word. Then we have this document that compared to evidence, like the predictions that we have, is not even worth my time. I've already showed you a shucker and driver, according to your own words. So. No.
Shucking and jiving. Yeah. Witsit just quoted some obscure, non-academic thing that can't even spell the person's name that it's talking about correctly. Good job. Austin Simmons for $5 says, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't scale and distance oh, we read that one. Thank you. And yes, it is. Dihydrogen monoxide for £5 says Witchit's brain was etherically displaced into the unbreakable container. Yes, it can even contain spectroscopy of a ferrocell image of a magnet. Brilliant. The lyrics that come out of him are just incredible. Steve Revel for 4 months has been a member and says Witchit bashing. I love it. Keep it coming, Craig. PJ's been a member for 2 months, says shucking and jiving, shucking and jiving. Man of War for 15 shekels. Witsit is torn between loving his own voice and getting demolished by his own voice.
You're not presenting anything but just your words and something else that you could be getting wrong. So I presented actual observations, actual reportings, actual evidence that you can sink your teeth into. That so you know what? You know something you can do if you actually wanted to get my attention. If you wanted to, why don't you do this? Let us know. Let's see. When is the next time Mercury is in inferior conjunction, given your model of the geocentric solar system? When is the next time Mercury is in inferior conjunction?
Literally any ephemeris you would use to determine that, all but 2 are geocentric.
Oh, good. Well, show us the model then. Let's do that.
You want me to show you the list of all the ephemeris that are literally
I want you to show us the
geocentric?
positions of the planets and the sun and how the orbits go, and the formulas we can use to calculate that for ourselves.
Okay, it's literally just about the periodicity of the planets, and we map them out from a geocentric position, all the ephemeris.
Witz is out here dropping words he doesn't understand, like he's cracked the secrets of the universe when he can't even open a basic science textbook. He's the kind of guy that would fail an open book test because he would argue with the book.
geocentric, your model would claim, oh, well, we do that for convenience sake because we're observing it from the Earth, and relatively speaking, it's the same anyway. So any prediction of conjunctions or anything like that would literally be a direct equivalent. It would be equally valid. It would be an equivalent kinematic prediction. This is like basic stuff. So we have to get back to like, can you actually do you agree that you can't actually like detect and measure with any type of experiment or test that the Earth is actually orbiting around the sun at 66,600 miles per hour? Do you agree that that's impossible to actually detect, measure, or verify with experiment or measurement?
So, of course, Witsit completely avoided his question. Daryl asked specifically, well, show me the position of everything and then the predictions and how to calculate it. And Witsit ignored it, said a bunch of stuff, and then asked Daryl a question instead.
Right. So again, we have still just words. Apparently, you can't do it. And then we want to try to get into this ephemeral thing about measuring the motion and thing. So we're going to go back. So to make sure we're clear, you're saying that we're living in a geocentric solar system, which means that all of science is wrong. We could predict and know the position of all the planets, where they're at, when they're going to be there. But we're understanding that you can't do that. You can't show us that model. So between the two, your position goes in the trash bin, and we understand that the Earth that the solar system is a heliocentric system. That's the way that works. That's the way. So you can see, right, that.
Do I concede what?
That you can't do it. You have nothing to offer. The heliocentric wins.
No, I guess you want me to share screen because what I just said is a fact, and no one would deny this that has even a basic. You're saying that it's just what your argument here is that I have to pull up literally everything. That's fine. I will. Like,
go ahead. No. His argument was use a geocentric universe and predict when Neptune is, in conjunction. Do it. You can't.
That's pretty desperate. Sure, I have to actually share the images here, some screenshots. I mean, this is weird because it's well known that we use like an Earth-centered, Earth-fixed coordinate system, and most of the actual models.
Again, right? In physics, Austin, there's no preferred location, right? It's not like an actual center. There's no privileged location. Anything can be considered a rest frame. You don't understand what that means. I don't know why I'm bothering. I did warn you guys to put on your facepalm protection.
Used are geocentric. The ephemeris is literally geocentric, but it's all good. I'll show you.
All right. Okay. And I will remind our audience, we will be doing a Q&A. I'd love to remind people that Super Chats get you priority. And as well, if you like what you're hearing from either of our speakers, we will have them tagged in the description. And that includes in our podcast forum, which all of these debates are uploaded within 24 hours to pretty much every podcast service that you want to name. So if you're listening to one that we're not on, let us know. But whenever you're ready there, Witsit, just let me know.
Yeah, sorry. I just want to make sure the image will be like a decent size, but we'll just go ahead and do it. Share screen.
A1.
This is weird to me, but all right, I'm just sharing the image, right?
Yeah, you got the image, and our faces are on screen too, so everybody can see our lovely mugs. But you're up and sharing.
These are the geocentric ephemeris data for all the quote-unquote planets and the sun and the moon. All the calculations are by Fred Espenak, the main guy who literally did all of that for NASA, all eclipse and planetary alignment predictions for NASA, the main top guy that did it for years and years and years. And he's also on record literally saying that he just uses geocentric coordinates. Here they are.
Just because you can kinematically equivocate it to geocentric doesn't mean that that's what they use. Witsit's lying again by saying this is what they use. It isn't. In the slightest. I don't even think this is from NASA.
Here's the key to the geocentric ephemeris of the planets. So here's literally everything that you need. And there's, of course, an entire list of all of this. So I guess, were you just not aware that we use like ECEF coordinate systems to map out the sky?
Oh, look at him giving it a fucking abbreviation like he knows what it means.
So you're telling us where things are relative to the Earth. I mean, we see things relative to the Earth. That is not modeling a geocentric. I want you to actually show us how you can model the positions of everything, where they're going to be, with your geocentric. Give us the equation.
Read it. Read what it says, Austin. An ephemeris is a table of values that gives the positions of astronomical objects in the sky over a range of times. While geocentric means as seen from Earth's center, The following table is a key to the geocentric ephemeris of the planets and includes a description of each column in these tables. Right. It's literally just saying this is what you could measure it as from Earth. If we're on Earth looking, this is what you see. They're not saying that the Earth is geocentric. They're just saying that means as this is what you would see from Earth. Hey guys, guess what? Witsit lied again.
Give us what we can do. Like I said, this is my original question. Let us know when Mercury will next be in infrared conjunction, and show us how you do that. Show the positions of everything.
Okay, that's not how debate works, Daryl. You think you get to come to debate and then you have some pop quiz question and say, hey, I want you to show us mathematically how you're going to predict this specific astronomical event in the middle of a debate. But
No. He's asking if your model's capable of doing it, Witsit. If it's not, then just admit it. Or cry.
Of course, anyone that's actually interested, they can go look up Andre Assis, a professor, a mathematics professor. He writes in relational mechanics, the specific equations you can use. There are many different ones. You can also look up Luka Popov with the Neo-Tychonic system. I don't have to claim a specific model anyway, but both of those have the equations. You can use a Lorentz magnetic force, an equivalent, the dynamic equivalent.
I don't have to claim anything because, making claims is just silly.
Using Mach's principle, you can actually you can make all predictions with the geocentric model, assuming all those distances and masses that you believe in. I don't believe in them. That's why I don't make that claim. We're going to go back to the fact that matters. You won't even answer any. I'm answering all your questions. You're playing clips of me, but you refuse to answer even the most basic question. The first one was, do you have any actual exclusive evidence that the Earth orbits around the sun?
He's answered that several times. Literally answered it with his opener. And then explained how his opener explains that is an answer to your question. Maybe the problem with it is you're too fucking stupid to understand his response. Apparently 10% of you are still getting, or 9% of you are still getting buffering. Well, it does seem a lot better. I haven't seen any buffering from my end, any notifications, so...
The second was, can you at least concede that there is, according to your own paradigm, that there is no measurement, test, or experiment of any kind that you can do on the Earth to detect and verify that the Earth is orbiting around the sun, that you can actually physically measure and test and verify in real life to measure the Earth going around the sun? Do you agree that you cannot actually detect?
Yeah, Professor Philbell was right. Witsit read the word geocentric. Didn't bother to go any further. Tim Davidson for $2 says... Dick, here's your words. W, here's a cherry pick. Yeah. Daryl, here's your words. Witsit, well, here's a cherry pick to answer it. Vic from Canada for $6.99 says, how the hell is Witsit's mouth consistently 40 words ahead of his brain? Holy hardened hubris Batman. Yeah, I don't really think his brain ever actually catches up and understands what he's saying, to be fair. Tim Davidson for $5. Anytime Witsit uses the quote, just say, did they think it was flat or geocentric? Or is your entire argument a misrepresentation? Please, guys, if you could answer the poll, it's going to help me in figuring out what's been going on.
The Earth moving around the sun.
Answer both of those questions. The first question, I went over how my whole presentation is evidence that the Earth goes around the sun. The second question, I told you, I've confirmed you're a shotgun driver. All you're doing is giving words, and I'm not going to accept your words. I've already addressed that. And just pointing out a reference that gives the position of everything relative to where the Earth is, that's not the same as what I was asking. That's not the same as showing that let me put it like this. You're saying that all of science is wrong. You are saying that. You're saying that the majority of scientists for the last 2,000 years are wrong. Somehow you understand the way the solar system really works, and all of this is wrong. Yet we can point out where everything is, right? You can see the scale workings of it as a heliocentric model.
Austin Salmon says, my experience in buffering in my brain whenever I listen to Austin, honestly.
If your model was better, and you really understood it to the point that you were able to overthrow, similar to how when Copernicus came along and started to overthrow the Ptolemaic model, and then when Kepler came along and increased the Copernican model, Kepler was able to give his equation, right? He was able to give his equation, p squared equals a cubed, and he was able to give that equation and calculate all the positions quite accurately of all the planets that they knew about. We're able to take that equation today and, like I said, predict things like finding other planets that was not there. That's the level of detail that you need if you want to claim you're overthrowing a model. You're not doing that. So for you to say you can't expect me to have that, that shows you're out of your league in addressing science. You have no clue what you have to do to even address it. You know, a couple didn't come along and say, hey, you know what, and just say a bunch of words. Or, you know, he actually came with an equation that we were able to quantify where everything was, and the predictive power of his model,
10 seconds.
confirmed it to be real and valid.
All right, go ahead there, Austin, if you want to respond.
Oh, sorry, I was.
Slam dunk. Yeah, here, Austin, he answered your question. His entire intro was exclusive evidence of the Earth orbiting the sun.
Was muted. Yeah, we're sharing screen the whole time. Look, dude, that was really fallacious, okay, in many ways. Obviously, you just continually avoid the actual point, so you're using...
There we go. Not going to address it. He's just going to claim it's fallacious. Well, Austin, let's address your fallaciousness, shall we? To dismiss his argument because of a perceived fallacy is in itself a fallacy, known as the fallacy. That is when you dismiss an argument because it is perceived to contain a fallacy. It is not true that because an argument is fallacious, it is incorrect. So to dismiss it on the basis of it containing fallacious argumentation is in itself a fallacy. You phallic.
Using red herrings, using stereotype fallacies, hasty generalization fallacies, poisoning the well fallacies, reification fallacies, over and over and over. And just to say, like, oh, you think you're smarter than everyone else, so you're basically appealing to majority, appealing to authority, or using a credentials fallacy and a genetic fallacy.
Anyone got some dressing?
That was the most fallacious conglomerate of nonsense I've heard in a long time, respectfully, you know.
Right,
but I would really appreciate us actually discuss the point here. So I specifically cited a mathematics professor who has provided all of the equations. I will now go find it and pull it up. So I have to pull up like a 290-page, you know, publication and find it for you. But I am citing it. So anyone at home that...
what, you didn't come prepared with the thing that you're going to use as your main argument? Huh. Weird. I will stake my channel on the fact that the things he says are not in that document.
Actually interested in the truth. You know,
in fact, guys, clip this for me, all right? Clip this and send it to Witsit. Witsit, if you can show me the things that you said in the documents that you were saying to Daryl, then I'll delete my channel. Cool? Just someone clip that and send it to dipshit Witsit, please. And okay, guys, I'm gonna probably finish this stream in about 20 minutes because too much Witsit in one go is hurting my brain, and also I'm in agony 24 hours a day, and honestly, sitting at the desk with my leg in the position it is very, very hard for me at the moment, as I've been suffering really badly with my chronic pain, which has been flaring up with my mental health issues. So I really can't sit here for too long in one go. And tomorrow I've got a long stream and I'm going to finish this. So, but we'll do another like 15 minutes and then finish up.
Go and look at everything that I'm saying. Again, though, I've answered all of your questions, even questions that were clearly your attempt to try.
You haven't answered a single one of his questions.
Try to bring in flat Earth to this. I've answered clips out of context, all of that. And you can't answer one simple question. And my question was, can we actually physically detect or measure the actual physical motion that you claim exists of Earth's orbit? Do you concede that you cannot, according to your own paradigm, you cannot actually detect it?
All right, let's pass the ball.
All right, I've already established you're a shotgun driver, so I'm not going to accept what you tell me my model is. I've already said that. Secondly, to address what you said earlier, I wasn't just, when I was talking about the arrogance of feeling you know better than scientists, I was not just pulling something out of my ass, as the saying goes.
Dude, I'm not trying to brag here or whatever, just to make my point. I'm in the higher percentile of IQ.
I love that he does this. It
you would get
triggers
demolished. I would wipe the floor with Neil deGrasse Tyson. Literally, I would demolish that dude. Oh, okay. My 160 IQ disagree with you. Claim I'm stupid, claim I'm dumb.
All right, so I will obviously never be debating this guy again.
We can't debate. I would expect somebody who has a 160 IQ
You're acting like a woman.
and could wrap rings around Neil deGrasse Tyson.
What did he say?
who has 160 IQ
You're acting like a woman.
and could wrap rings around.
You're acting like a woman. So he's sexist as well. Brilliant.
Around Neil deGrasse Tyson, you know, we'll be able to meet the standards, which you've already conceded.
Hello, Orlando Rainbow. I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. The Klingon blood wine always helps out of my mason jar.
Apparently, you say something like you don't even see why it's even necessary. If you're going to overthrow a model that has such predictive power that we utilize to send satellites to different planets, there's Voyager, there's the Mars orbiter, there's something orbiting the moon, there's the Himrari 8. You want to somehow overthrow all that? With no equations,
we got to give
no predictions.
We got to give
no.
him a chance to respond because, like I said, you are taking up some of your time playing clips of his own words. So we do have quite a Q&A here as well. So that could help maybe steer us in some new direction if you guys wanted to maybe move in there.
Just think about how insane that is.
Q&A.
But Ryan, think about how insane that is. That he hasn't answered one question. So like I have one simple question. It's actually about the debate. He's tried to bring up everything but that and then play clips. So this is really weird. But I will just help the audience because there are people who actually want the truth and there are people that just hate me and will pretend you won no matter what, and they really like when you gaslight and you do all these weird little tactics. But this is the epitome of bad faith, right? That's what you're demonstrating. But it is a fact that according to relativity, which is the currently accepted consensus of the heliocentric model, that there is
not heliocentric. All that was wrong.
Kinematic equivalence of the Earth being the center of the universe. This is just a well-known and established fact. To quote Einstein, I've come to the conclusion that no optical experiment can actually detect the motion of the Earth.
Optical experiment. Exactly.
The orbital motion of Earth, though the Earth moves around the sun. He also then went on to say that we've established that no terrestrial experiment can actually detect the motion of the Earth. Specifically, he said that's because of Michelson-Morley and subsequent measurements. And he said that this is well-known consensus within your position. Just to claim that I'm somehow unreliable or whatever, it doesn't matter. If I have to actually pull up special relativity and general relativity in his letters, I can do that. I will have.
Yeah, but none of that changes the measurements that Daryl showed you in his opener. You word salad waffling twat.
Fully do that. But what's happened is every time I bring up sources that you claim I don't have and I just made up, you literally avoid it and just go past it like it didn't happen. So these are all little games. Right. And I want the audience wants to know if you have proof that the Earth moves around the sun. That's why we're here. Do you have actual measurement of the claimed 66,600 mile per hour orbit of the Earth?
So just for the interest
you don't orbit in miles per hour. That's a tangential velocity.
Like you said, you don't mind sharing that stuff. It might be a good idea to move into the, like some new territory if we can. If not, then it may be better just to move into Q&A because it does seem like we're revisiting the same cycle here, and we're not really moving past this. So
if it's Q&A,
I do want to give Austin a chance if he wants to push us into some brand new territory that we haven't gotten to explore for our discussion tonight that maybe you wanted to touch on. It's totally up to you.
Austin's reading ChatGPT so hard.
You're on mute, Witsit.
Sorry. Okay, I'll share this real quick. This is, it's just, I don't remember the exact location of the PDF or whatever. This is one of the equations showing, actually, this is based on his Ptolemy section of the paper. He says, we now surround the test body of the sphere.
It's fucking hilarious that he's showing all this stuff which proves the universes and galaxies and other bodies and stuff whilst just trying to claim that the Earth is the center of the universe. And, his entire argument here is so anti-flat Earth anyway. He is totally moving away from the flat Earth, isn't he?
Spherical shell at rest. So he's literally talking about the Earth in the center position. This is him breaking down the Machian principle.
Machian principle is just a thought experiment. Literally just a thought experiment, nothing else.
One of the many equations he breaks down. There's it's analogous to Newton's second law of motion. He comes down here to explain. I just don't know exactly where it is. He comes down to show the exact equation using something akin to a Lorentz magnetic force. He also shows exactly the difference in Newtonian and relativity.
Something akin to Lorentz magnetic force. That is going to explain the rotation of the stars and the galaxies. The actual fuckwitsit.
Kinematic and dynamic equivalences. You claim there was no model. This is one of many. And so I will pull up another one.
Well, before you go ahead, let's give Daryl a chance to respond if he would like to do so.
Surely. Here's the thing, Witsit. You said that you can get 9.8 meters per second squared without taking into account gravity and the mass of the Earth, just from a kinematic equation separately from the mass of the Earth and gravity. Can you confirm that you said that?
You can use a kinematic equation. I didn't say that in this debate because that's not what this is about at all. But yes, of course, you can use a kinematic equation. You can use time, height, initial velocity of an object. This is well known, and you'll
That's what I'm
get.
saying. You saying you can do it.
Whenever he says this is well known, it's not. He thinks it is.
But without having to worry about gravity, without having to worry about Newton's laws, the kinematic.
Well, you don't
equation.
seem to know. You don't seem to know what gravity is, for starters. Secondly, you don't seem to know that 9.8 meters per second squared.
Who cares if we know exactly what gravity is? The warping of space-time causes an apparent attraction between masses. That's all that matters. We can measure that shit.
It's just the quantified effect of the rate of fall. It isn't the claimed cause whatsoever. So that's completely irrelevant. That objects.
Actually, it can be derived directly from the attraction of masses to the Earth. So it is.
Fall at 9.8. You're claiming.
No, this is the relevance.
And this is the elephant in the room. You're still like 7 steps behind, where I actually said if I were to grant you gravity, even Newtonian or Einsteinian, within both of
same thing
those paradigms, if you actually understood them, which I do not believe that you do, you would know there is a kinematic and dynamic equivalence. I then cited multiple people, including Andre Assis, a mathematics professor that we're looking at right here.
He doesn't. I just wish he could understand that saying kinematic equivalence doesn't explain a mechanism. We can look at things from the Earth and do measurements. But we can also do those measurements from another point. And they will turn out the same. But it doesn't explain anything. Yeah, electroneutrino, you're right. He's claiming that quantifying it is deriving it. Bert, I'll finish it up tomorrow. We'll do the rest tomorrow, but I'm just going to give it another few minutes because I honestly I'm in pain, okay, and I can't keep going for too long.
And then that is relational mechanics. There's also on Luka Popov, which he posed a Newtonian neo-Machian analysis of planetary motion of bodies, and that is in the European Journal of Physics. He shows the math, okay, and there are multiple other ones. So, but I don't have to make a specific claim about a model. You're claiming it's impossible. I show that's not true. So why is it that, why is it you can't just address, it seems like it's a game to you or something. Do you agree, Einstein? Okay, do you think that relativity is true?
I want to address your point. Give me a chance to address the first thing I was supposed to address, which would include that as well. I want to actually share my pad right now, right?
Sure thing. Let's pass
let me see if I can do that. One moment here.
Yeah, no worries. It's always fun.
Right,
We can launch into some new territory. So,
now keep in mind, you just said that we don't have to worry about gravity and Newton. We could just use a kinematic equation because the gravity G is just the effect.
Is this where he's about to do the maths? Brilliant.
So on and so forth. I want to show you and everyone else how wrong you are and why I don't trust what you say about relativity and things like this. Okay, so we know from Newton's laws that everybody can see this, right? We know that F equals ma. We also know that the force of gravity equals big G m over r squared, right? So this would be the force of gravity. This would be acceleration on the other side. Now, we know that these two forces are going to equal. So we would have ma g m over r squared, right? The m's would cancel because we're talking about the mass of a certain object. And then what we have here is a equals g m, which is the mass of the Earth, since we're talking about gravity on the Earth's surface.
Austin's lost. He's gone.
R squared is the radius of the planet. If we input these numbers, we get 9.8. Do you can see that, or do you want me to actually type the numbers in?
Of course, that's irrelevant.
Do you can see this, or do you need me to type in the
the maths disproving you is irrelevant.
Numbers and show it on the camera?
Oh, of course.
I think I already typed it in. Let me just show
There's
it.
No concession. There's no concession.
I'm leading to a point because I actually went through the numbers earlier just to
irrelevant.
Make sure. But this is the equation I just put in just now. If you could see that, maybe you can't see it. 9.8 meters per second squared when you put that in. Now, and that's going to be G. Now, you said you were a math whiz, and in school you did math and you could pass the test and not have to write the answers down. So why don't you tell me, how would you integrate this? What would be the proper way to integrate this?
No, dude.
Come on, do some integration, Witsit. I dare you.
Dude, Ryan, why are you not moderate? Do you see that all the guy is doing is intentionally avoiding...
Oh, it wants me to do maths. Moderator!
every single aspect of the actual debate in the subject, every point that I've made. He came here in complete bad faith, has played clips of me out of context, has tried to do anything but actually have a debate. And now he's like, hey, can you tell me how to do a math equation? Do you not see how this is?
No. He doesn't want you to do an equation. He wants you to do some integration. How do you integrate that? Come on.
You could just say,
you know why I said that?
to be fair, you could just say no,
but gotcha on me because he couldn't even get close to discussing this conversation.
I'm getting to a point, but since you said that,
no, you're not. No, you're not.
Okay,
no, you're not.
All right, let's.
No, you're not getting to a point. I'm telling you, I'm getting to a point.
I will give you 15 seconds to try to.
Used to get accused of cheating.
Oh no!
In my algebra
look what he's doing.
Right? Because I wouldn't show my.
That's why I said that. You said you used to pass all the tests, but we showed you can't.
What does that have to do with the debate,
Daryl? Let me keep going. You can't do it. I'm gonna keep
going. What does that have to do with the debate,
Daryl? You in school and you are Matt Wiz and you can do it, but I showed you can't. No, I'm going to show people how to do the integral, and I'm going to show you where kinematic phrases come from.
Dude, I'm about to leave, Ryan. I'm just going to let you know.
You can't do it. Let me finish
I'm going to rage quit. He's showing me maths.
Like I said,
acting like a child, and we're just going to sit here and pretend.
1 second there, Daryl. I just put him on mute, but it's yeah. So what's going on with it? What are you feeling? Do you want to change respond?
You're sitting here. It's obvious what's going on.
Oh, come on, Ryan. Don't pander to the idiot. Let the fucking slaughter happen.
This guy is literally just being a joke at this point. He is trying to operate 100% in bad faith. So what does this have to do with the debate? Nothing. He's still playing clips of me out of context to try to get some gotcha or make me look bad about something. Nothing to do with the debate. What? So I don't know.
Well, it is. It's showing you and what you do. And it's explaining what you're doing during this debate. No, you're right, Prof. Phil, but he doesn't know what integrate means. He wouldn't have the fucking clue about integration. He wouldn't have the slightest clue how to start doing any kind of calculus or anything.
Why? How is this not weird, Ryan?
Well, I think, if...
I've been extremely patient. He's played 7 clips of me.
Let's just say, by your own opinion...
Oh, we can count to 7. That's impressive. Good job, Witsit.
And I'm not going to tell you exactly how I feel about it, but, if it's bad optics, then, that's going to play out in the long...
But the point is that it's just I don't have to just sit, I didn't just come here to just sit here and listen to the guy constantly play clips of me. That
is fair. I would ask Daryl if you can refrain from playing any more clips of Witsit. He's here now. He's going to talk to you. There's other spaces we can go and make commentary on clips that people have discussed.
Oh, moderator, he's being mean. You know what? There was one time I was debating Nathan Thompson on Monday Debate, and James just let me play the memes of Thompson. It was fucking brilliant.
But I do think that. I do think it has been tolerated to the point here. It's not. It's obviously not something that's Witsit's enamored by here. So let's just try.
I mean, anyone that watches this and would be like, "Oh yeah, Daryl."
Anyone that watches this is gonna understand how badly you got destroyed. Let's have a look at the comments. Yeah, they're all just slagging Witsit off, and wet Witsit is a big baby.
Get him or Witsit stop crying. They're just also in bad. I don't care about that. I tried to come here in good faith. I've asked the questions multiple times. Do you have actual evidence that the Earth is orbiting around the sun? Can we detect or measure it? I've consistently provided the evidence. You've tried to get gotchas. You've constantly played clips of me. You've constantly ducked my questions, but asked me questions. I answer your questions. I showed you were wrong about Neptune. Showed you were wrong about Newton. Showed you were wrong about Einstein. Showed you were wrong about all of your claims, and you're not addressing the single question I have.
No, you haven't. You've said things, Witsit, but you haven't showed that he's wrong about anything. You've said things. You didn't refute anything that he said in his opener.
So do you not see why that would be frustrating? You don't have any juice over me. You're not superior to me. You don't get to come and just
No, he is superior to you, Witsit. We're all fucking superior to you.
Miss anything I say with ad homs and then continue to try to pepper me with gotcha attempts. It's just disrespectful. I've been patient and sat through it for quite a while now. So I'm not just going to continue to do it.
All right.
This is the only scenario where this guy I guess to act like he can somehow denigrate me like that.
I think your request to not play clips of yourself is fair. I think it's just not coming across very well.
Anymore?
I would ask that just as a courtesy, since it's not being appreciated on this end. Of course, we're hearing that, so I think that's just a sign of respect. So if you can explain to us, Daryl, what we have here in front of us, and then I think maybe I should go with my best instinct and move into that Q&A to try to push us into some new territory. And thank you, Witsit. Like I said, I'm sorry
we'll get through this bit,
frustrated.
and then
that's definitely not what I want for you.
I'm just saying, anyone that watches it knows what he's doing. So there's this unspoken thing that if it's a flat earther, you can just do whatever to him, right? You can just, and that's not.
Yeah, because flat earthers are all fucking idiots and mostly horrific, horrible, homophobic and sexist people. Like, you've already shown how sexist you are in this debate, Witsit. You're acting like a woman.
Not actually correct. I didn't have to take this debate with you, Daryl. You know, I tried to come here and knowing it would probably be bad faith, and you know, it's whatever. We don't keep talking about it. We don't have to keep talking about the meta.
No worries.
Obviously, we can't have the discussion about the actual evidence. He doesn't know how to address any of it. Well, that's why he's like desperately trying to discredit.
He already
me
has.
with
He
clips
did
of things
all
I
of it.
said.
You fucking dip.
It's just weird.
All right. Well, yeah. Let's try to move. Like I say, past this. If we can explain to the audience what we have here in front of us, Daryl, and then Witsit will give you a chance to respond to what he's presenting here.
What I've shown is Witsit is wrong. This is a kinematic equation, which is actually an integration of gravity based on Newton's laws. This is a kinematic equation, which is the integration of the first equation. I showed you wrong. When you use the kinematic equations, you're not avoiding gravity. It's not some kind of output. The reason why gravity outputs, if you find the proper time and the proper distances and the proper speed, is because it was derived from gravity in the first place. You're wrong. So I'm not going to listen to you tell me this is what your model says. This is what relativity means.
You dropped the mass out. Wait. Did you drop? Did you drop mass out?
You're cutting me off now. You're cutting me off now.
You dropped your own dynamic claim cause out of your equation.
The reason why I'm not going to listen to you when you tell me this is what relativity does, and this is what your model says.
Witsit is trying to argue with the integration that Daryl has done. He doesn't understand why there is no actual mass there. He doesn't understand what's happened. He's no fucking clue.
And you can't even understand this basic equation. You didn't even know that this is where the kinematic equations come from, and I'm going to believe you understand the equations in that paper you showed me? No. And that's all I have to say.
Cool, now I get to destroy you. So literally what you did was show and prove my point, which I already said, that literally Newtonian dynamic equations are basically reverse engineered from Kepler, and he just placed the M inside of it, placed the mass. You just showed that you removed it. You removed your own dynamic claim showing that it actually...
No, he didn't remove anything. He did integration. Holy fuck.
Boils down to simply a kinematics, which is just seeing how things move and based on their periodicity, writing out the ratio, not the claimed cause of gravity whatsoever. You proved my point right there.
No. He proved that the kinematic equations come from gravity. You moron.
You proved my point, and I will now show what I was actually talking about, which is a kinematic equation showing how you can easily get the 9.8 meters per second squared, and you don't need anything to do with gravity that you believe in. So here's a simplified kinematic equation when the initial velocity is 0. So you have height equals 1/2 at2, solving for acceleration, a equals 2h over t squared. Sample values, example 1. Here you go. You have 10 meters, 1.43 seconds. Using the equation to solve for a, you get 9.78 meters per second squared. This is a simple kinematic equation. So you objectively, you can get 9.8 meters per second squared.
And none of that is anything to do with the integration that he just did. Excuse me. Do you think if we asked him the difference between integration and derivatives, he would know the answer?
Base, because that's just an effect. It's just how fast things typically fall. Okay, no one's disputing that. We're disputing the claimed cause. Your own equation showed that you actually had to remove the dynamic cause, which is supposedly mass, out of the equation. Your own equation showed that fall.
So Witsit look like on his own computer?
Example 1, 1/2 at. You believe in 9.8 meters per second squared, and you don't need anything to do with
yeah, you're right.
No one's disputing that. We're disputing the claimed cause. Your own equation, periodicity, writing out there actually boils down to simply the claimed cause of gravity whatsoever. You proved my point right there. You proved my point, and I will now show what I was actually talking about, which is a kinematic equation showing how you can easily get the 9.8 meters per second squared, and you don't need anything to do with gravity that you believe in. So here's a simplified kinematic equation when the initial velocity is 0.
What the hell was that came up on his screen? Can't even find it. I don't know what it was. It was
their
scary.
Periodicity, writing out meters per second squared, based, because that's just an effect. It's just how fast things typically fall. Okay, no one's disputing that. we're disputing the claimed cause. Your own equation showed that you actually had to remove the dynamic cause, which is supposedly mass, out of the equation. How does that help you?
No, it didn't.
All you've done with it. Let me share my screen so I can. I mean, it's amazing that you're still harping on this after I've already showed that you're wrong. All you've done is you've taken this kinematic equation that I just showed that it directly comes from Newton's laws. You just took this kinematic equation, and what happens is if you pick a position where it's not moving, so velocity is 0, you put a 0 for velocity, and that goes away. And let's say the reference point that you pick, you call that point 0. So that becomes 0. And then you...
Nothing here is anything that Witsit will understand.
Get the thing that you just had, which was h equals 1/2, and it just had an a instead of g, t, and I forgot to put my square there. Squared. All this is an integral of gravity. So the thing that you think is some kind of separate kinematic equation that's not dealing with gravity, this is what you're using ignorantly without knowing what you're doing. So of course I'm not going to listen to you when you tell me something else is I mean, it's...
Look at Witsit shaking his head, arguing with the guy with 2 degrees about maths that he can't do.
It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous that you think you can overthrow heliocentrism when you don't even realize you didn't even recognize that this is the equation that you were using.
Dude, that's my whole argument, Daryl. So you don't get it. This is embarrassing, but I'm going to help you here.
You don't get it. The irony.
Okay, you just had to remove the supposed dynamic cause from your...
No, he didn't. He integrated
own equation, meaning all you're left with is kinematics. That's the whole point. Kinematics is just how objects move in relation to others. For example, quantifying how fast something falls. That has nothing to do with the supposed cause being mass. So you thought you had some gotcha that you could turn that equation into a kinematic equation. And literally that was my point. That completely backfired, which shows that you actually have to cancel out the claimed cause, mass, and it just results in a kinematic equation.
This is fucking hilarious. Witsit's knowledge of the maths is so low that he literally doesn't understand what a kinematic equivalence is in relation to where it came from, or how you can get from one thing to another using integration. Every part of that kinematic equivalence comes from the knowledge of mass attracting mass and Newton's laws. It's not being removed. He's doing integration. Clive Wells says associate degrees are approximately level HNC in the UK. Right, okay. So he's got 2 HNCs, so he'd have enough credit to go in and at least start his physics degree.
And that's literally what my whole point was. And all of this is a red herring and a deflection away from the actual point, which is that you can't even provide any type of evidence of actual measurement of the Earth orbiting the sun whatsoever. You didn't acknowledge that parallax and stellar aberration and retrograde, which you all invoked, are not in any way exclusive to heliocentrism. There's a kinematic equivalence. You didn't address that I showed the dynamic equivalence with multiple equations. You didn't address that even Newton said that using gravity, his gravity, that it could actually be in the center. You didn't.
He did. He said that you just said words and nothing else.
Address what Einstein actually said. You didn't address Michelson-Morley in the error margin, which I predicted in the opener you wouldn't even get close to touching.
Again, you just were wrong about the error margin. So
you have done nothing but try to get a gotcha. Your big gotcha right there completely backfired. It showed that you had to remove and cancel out your own claim.
It backfired for you. It's actually embarrassing for you. This needs to go in a video.
Dynamic mechanism, which is mass, to just end up getting a kinematics, which of course if you knew how it was created, you would know that's of course what's going to happen, because that's what Newton did, took Kepler's kinematics and then just threw an M in there and said, I think it must be God doing it.
Let's pass the ball.
I actually have the equations from my actual book right here. So these are the kinematic equations. If you get this book, Physics for Scientists and Engineers, you'll see that the kinematic equations I have are the same thing here. I'll go back to my screen. I was rushing, so I forgot to write a 2 there. But going back to my, so take a look at those equations. If you go to Physics for Scientists and Engineers, those are the kinematic equations. That's what they're called. If you look at the 216, that's the, I'll actually write the numbers next to the ones on my page when we go back. I'll write 216 by the 216 one. And I'll write 213 by the 213 one. So let me stop sharing my screen on my laptop, on my laptop, and go back to my pad. And you can see that these are the kinematic equations that you'll find on any online site, including the one that he pulled up himself. He just put 0 in for velocity. You can see that these are the same equations. 213 was the first kinematic equation, and 216 was the second. If you actually put this in any calculator that knows how to do integrals, since Witsit wasn't able to, and you actually take the integral of these things, you'll see that that's what you get. You're wrong.
You literally proved my point again. which is that your claimed support for the alleged dynamic
No.
claim.
Oh my God.
I'm
No,
starting to
no,
think you don't know
Witsit.
what dynamic and kinematic means and what the difference is.
Yeah, the guy that just showed you the maths doesn't know what he's talking about. Oh my God. Just quickly, yeah, I want to... That's what was on his PC. What the fuck is that? I like Witsit from Temu.com.
Well, you're claiming a dynamic cause, mass attracting massive force. That's archaic in your own paradigm anyway. You had to cancel out the actual...
He actually doesn't know what paradigm means, does he?
...causal mechanism of your dynamic claim, and then you end up just being left with a kinematic equation, which was my entire point, yet your point was actually invoking that alleged dynamic causal mechanism to prove your position, yet you showed math that literally eliminated it and proved my point. And again...
It did not, Witsit, eliminate it.
Let's see if you can actually answer this question. Do you have any, or do you concede that within your paradigm, it is admitted that you could never actually detect, measure, and verify via direct measurement that the Earth orbits the sun from the Earth? That you can never do it. It's never been done.
Right. So I'll address all of those in order. First of all, if you take a feather and a bowling ball and put them in a vacuum chamber, I'm sure you know that they fall at the same pace. And you can see that they fall at the same pace.
Relatively speaking, there's not really that many times that's been done, but it's pretty close, yeah.
Okay, that's why mass cancels in the equation, because everything falls at the same pace.
He just couldn't say yes.
In the gravitational field, therefore, that's where the kinematic equations come from. Secondly, I've already shown that...
Yeah, he didn't say... He just explained that he didn't just get rid of the mass. It's because the mass is the same. You know, the acceleration is the same. You can cancel them out.
You're a trucker and driver. You can't understand basic integration. You didn't understand that the kinematic equations were actually integrations of Newton's laws. So I'm not going to believe you when you tell me this is what your model says. Done. I'm ready for a question and answer.
All right, I think it would be a good idea.
Let me just rebut that.
Right quick, if you don't mind there, Austin.
This will be the end.
Dude, you have it backwards. You're saying I didn't know that one came from the other. That was my whole point. I said it very clearly. I hope you watch this back, and I hope that the audience caught it. I said that even in its origin, Newton simply took Kepler's kinematic equations, which are just looking at how things move in the sky.
You know what? We don't need to hear fucking Witsit soapbox, his thing that he said over and over and over. Daryl fucking destroyed him. That was absolutely beautiful. Good job, Daryl. Witsit cried because he doesn't understand mathematics. Fucking hell, my hair needs a cut, doesn't it? Jesus, I'll get that done tomorrow. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thank you very much for joining me tonight for another destruction of Witsit Gets It, who never does, of course, because he's thick as fuck. Back tomorrow with a debate, a tag team debate, me and Ozian versus two Flerfs over on Modern Day Debates, funny enough. Obviously, you can watch it here on my channel, and I hope you do. Glad to see the streaming has been good. No buffering issues, because September I will be doing a challenge where I will stream every day for the month. Annalise Knapp for $6.99 Canadian dollars says, "This is my favourite stuff to listen to while cooking dinner. Keep it up, Craig." I will, and you spelled my name perfectly. Roger that, $5 Canadian dollars. The only buffering is between Witsit griffs its brain in his mouth. Nom nom nom. Salad a la words. Tony Regime for 9 months has been a member and says, "What a surprise, racist doesn't know anything about any kind of integration." Very good. PJ for $2. Copium is one hell of a drug and Witsit takes a lot of it. Ashton Richards for member for 14 months says, "I recommend the anti-conspiracy song Hip Gone Gunslingers by the Mad Welshman Christian Fitness on Bandcamp 230 of Chaos." And then Macalipse, who's been a member for 15 months, doesn't leave a message, but thank you very much for your support. Guys, I have had fun. I always have fun with you because I love every single one of you. Just, not you, Gary. And I think because it's Witsit, instead of, you know, the normal questions, we could just listen to the song that was written by Witsit Gets It.
What is a full moon and what is a new moon on your model?
Probably like a magnetic cycle, and just like the center of a Flerfs cell image of a magnet.
Sean Serietti, welcome to Scrappers.
I think it's probably like a magnetic cycle, just like the center of a Flerfs cell spiral. Image of a magnet, it's just black in the middle. It's actually pure inertia, not just a little. In the Flerfs cell image of a magnet, it actually goes into its inertial state, then charges back up. It becomes like etherically displaced. Yeah, you start to see it charge up once more, and it goes back like it did before. Once it becomes like etherically spaced, you see it charge up and take its place. Oh shucks, ain't that so? That's how moon phases work, fam. Pass the dresser. In the magnet's heart, centrifugal divergence flies, centripetal convergence pulls, defying all science. Etheric whispers sing, light and shadow blend, magnetic cycles spin, where physics seems to end. In the Flerfs cell image of a magnet, it actually goes into its inertial state, then charges back up. It becomes like etherically displaced. Yeehaw! Grab your partner, swing around, magnetic cycles up and down. Either song in the air, hillbilly science everywhere, cause it's like etherically displaced. Yeehaw! Yo, belly on up to the Witsit word salad buffet. Who has light vinaigrettes? The Jugger Ranch.
Then charges back up, and once it becomes like etherically displaced again, you start to see it charge up throughout a cycle, and then it goes back.
Brilliant. Just, you know, absolute genius. Thank you everyone for watching. I very much appreciate it. I'm sorry if I've been a bit dour and not quite my normal self on a lot of my streams recently. I have really been struggling with my chronic pain, and it's hard. Everything's hard. But thank you for your continued support, and please stay tuned for a lot of good stuff coming in the next month. And I love all of you. Just, you know, not you, Gary. Remember, stupidity's not right. Fight the fire.
Fight the fly. 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 Fight the fly, 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 fight the fly.
Hi, my name's Nathan Oakley, and I have been lying to people about the Earth being flat for a lot of years. I did this to hide the fact I have a small penis.
Level.